Hey everybody, this is a quick check-in to show you some of the progress on my work in progress, very obviously incomplete ship-to-shore container gantry crane custom creation that I'm trying to put together for my cargo harbor. I've got the spreader actually working. I've got a cab on there, and I've got a way for the guy to at least pretend to get up to the cab. First of all, the spreader has been made more secure and stable. How it's put together, it's been beefed up slightly as needed. Most importantly, I've got the short way width a lot more stable, so these aren't able to kind of flex in and out. I also have switched to just a single stud of attachment at each corner, just those red studs there, which is plenty. And because I'm going into Technic pinholes here, that has a lot more clutch power than going from the anti-stud on the underside there to any plate or bracket or whatever piece is exposed on the top of the container. So that just makes everything much easier. Keep in mind that on my major container ship that I've shown in the past, things are set up side by side like this with no gap in between. So my spreader has to come down from the top. It has to attach from the top. I have no option for clamping onto the sides of the things because one side of each container, when down there deep in the hull, is not available, is not exposed at all. So I have to attach from the top. There's no other option to get around that, and I'm not going to completely change up the design of my container ship because that would really ruin its design. This is going to work for me at least as well as I could have asked, actually a little bit better. I've also made it so that the movement between the 20-foot and 40-foot kind of configurations of this is something that needs to be a bit more deliberate, and I had started to give a little bit of suggestion of a way to do that previously by putting one of these rubber bushings on there, and that bushing on either side now just goes underneath a bracket that's on its side. Looks like the other one might be a little bit worn out. The bushing itself may be a little bit squished, but I can kind of adjust the angle of this bracket so it just acts as a small friction break in there. So most of the time this is not going to accidentally slide in, even though there should be no friction along these axles. And then I've got some pulleys set up here, and that whole thing is able to actually raise and lower. Now there is a little bit of torque that comes into the system. Unfortunately, it's worse when there's no weight on it. When there is weight on it, it's much better. I may actually add some form of weight to this so that when it's not connected to anything, it'll work a little bit better. But there we go. Just attach that very lightly to the top. Doesn't even need to go down all the way. And then it's able to pick this up, and then I can move it along however I want, in and out. A little bit too much swing there. Got to be careful with that. And also, of course, side to side. Looking at things up top at the trolley level, again, I don't have any option to increase the height of everything, so this needed to stay nice and low in profile. There are a lot of wheels used as pulley pieces, and I actually have two spools to raise and lower, and those work together, and it's all one string. So the single string starts at one of the spools back here. I'll show you that a little bit better in a second, but starts there, goes down to the spreader, comes back up, goes across, and then comes back in. Well, actually goes down again, comes up again, and then goes back to the second spool, and then the two spools move at the same time, and it works. It does the trick. It does everything that I need. And as I pull this up, you can see the container down there below, but it comes up on its own. And let's see if I can get you a better view of the back end. I'll just slide the whole thing down to the other end. I guess that doesn't give you that much of a better view, but there are the two string spools, again using one single string, and the gear is in the center to give it enough room because my cab is a 4-stud wide thing, so I needed to put the gear in the center rather than off to the side where it would have been actually much easier to connect things up. But then just over here I'm just turning a gear on the outside that works as an actuator to make it all work, and that's just pulling the string through both sides, and it all kind of just balances itself out. So here's a lower view with some really weird perspective going on there, but this is what I actually use to turn, to wind everything up and down, and counterclockwise is up, clockwise is down, and there you see the spreader coming up with that same container. And that's just how that works. And now you're starting to see a little bit of the cab. This had to use all sorts of weird studs on the side construction and stuff to allow enough space inside of this narrow 4-stud wide cab. It's kind of 4 studs by 5 really at its base. Needed to have enough room for the gear train, such as it is, including having the little friction adder over on the side there. It's actually on the outside. I wanted to put that on the inside, but there just wasn't space reasonably. And let's bring this around to the other side. So there's one more view of the cab, and I have the door that opens on this side. I had to use this one because I only have the black doors that open in this way, the so-called right-hand side doors, so I had to put it over here. Was going to put it on the other side. That makes this kind of the more interesting side to look at. Again, it had to be built to fit the gear in there as needed, and to be nice and close and tidy and all. But importantly, have a way for the minifigs, like I said, to kind of pretend to get in. It's a little bit difficult to actually load the minifigure in there without taking some of that apart, at least taking the canopy off, just because of, again, how small it has to be and how efficient the build has to be. Could have made it easier to bring the minifig in and out, but would have required a larger build, so I went with this, and then I just have a ladder to get from the ground up to here. Could use some more safety stuff, bars around and everything, but I'm happy with this. This is enough for now. For this scale, you start trying to put in too much detail and it all just starts to look really, really bulky and starts to kind of mess with the appearance of the scale. Already just this stairway here looks much larger relative to the whole crane than I would like it to, but I did want my figure to have the suggestion of access. And there's how the cab looks kind of from the front. It was completely unreasonable to do a full glass bottom. I mean, Lego minifigs aren't able to splay their legs anyway, so they can't do like an actual figure, an actual huge figure, an actual person would do in real life and look between their legs to see what they're doing down below. So I just went with what Lego has made and had my figure just sit there. I thought about, originally I thought about possibly angling the whole cab down to allow the figure to be kind of looking down a little bit more, but I didn't like how that looked, so this is how it's going to be. Most importantly though, this does everything that I wanted it to do from the start, and it does it within the size and shape that I wanted from the start. And it works with my whole system with the containers, which goes with the trains, it goes with the trucks, it goes with the ship, and I'll do more ships in the future, at least one more container specific ship. It just fits in. It is accomplishing all of its goals exactly as set out. Now obviously this is not done. It's incomplete. It's a work in progress. I still need to do all the stuff that I obviously still need to do. All the things that are not here need to be added here, like the machine room and some more detail down below and all, but that's to come, and that's how work in progress works. So thank you for watching up to this point, and stay tuned for the next update. Bye for now.